Before Till, I dedicated 10 years to an organisation where I held a senior role that I loved and excelled in. Year to year, I outperformed my KPIs and achieved huge milestones for the company. Whilst in this role, I fell pregnant. A very happy and exciting time for me, and I continued to work in my full capacity right up until I went into labour. During my 9 months maternity leave, I worked hard to stay connected with the business. I attended lunches and put aside time to have calls with my team and my line manager to ensure a smooth transition back to work. But it wasn't meant to be. When I returned to work, I discovered my role had been dissolved and divided up amongst my team. There was no communication around the changes or conversations with me about my capacity upon returning. It was simply assumed that I was a working mother and I could no longer fulfill my role. A decade of hard work was stripped away because I had a baby. From then on, I was assigned only small, uninspiring projects that were deemed manageable for me. I no longer felt valued or seen, and I had to leave the company I had once loved. How do you feel hearing that story?
The way I feel, the two words that describe that in feeling for me, it conjures sorrow and anger, ultimately. Sorrow that someone has had to go through that, and also that many have had to go through that as well. And anger as well at that situation, and the non-consultative approach, I guess, and being blindsided, and decisions of capability being made on their behalf without their input. And that's why I feel sorrow and anger. How does it make you feel, Tan?
Immediately sad and immediately angry. I share that, but I think most relevant, given I'm expecting my first baby and preparing for maternity leave, it makes me feel scared. It makes me feel scared that maternal bias is happening for women today. And so I'm scared that it could happen to me. We're talking about a belief or an assumption that mothers who have children or are expecting children can no longer perform, are no longer as committed, can no longer have the role that they used to have. So what do you think, is there proof in that? Is it just a thought? Like, where does that come from?
Well, actually, mums are hyper performers because they've got so much on. Whereas I think people who may be of the other school are acting out of fear and assumption to say, oh, because they've got so much on, they can't handle it. Whereas I actually believe it's the other way around. Because mums have so much going on, they're actually better and they don't waste time, and they go and run a really tight ship for their whole life, including work. So
I agree on the fear. I think there has to be some kind of fear factor, particularly from men in leadership roles who are scared to see the outcome and they make an assumption of the worst case, and that's where that bias keeps repeating itself, you know, just in case there is an impact.
It sucks, let's be honest. And those decisions being made on other people's behalves, that fundamentally just...
Bias. Bias at its core.
Exactly. And the world's proven that those assumptions are wrong. Ultimately.
Agree. So have you ever had the opportunity to take paternal leave?
Yeah, absolutely. In a previous organisation, I took advantage of the parental leave policy, and it was one of the best things I ever did. But leading into it, it was a groundbreaking experience and moment for me. I went through, I believe, I'm not going to say all, but most of the concerns that every single mum has ever gone through in Australian working history. It was scary. I was fearful of my job. I was fearful of missing out on an opportunity. I questioned trust within the organisation and if they had my back. Are the policies and statements as an organisation real?
I think you touched on something really important. It's the difference between a policy on a piece of paper, but how a company and a culture actually instills that policy. So how will Till as a business stop being part of the problem? Like, how do we stop that infiltrating this workplace?
Absolutely. One is en masse. Every individual needs to call it out, action, champion, but also top down.
Yeah,
Okay?
leadership.
Leadership, top down, everyone. Heads of, chiefs, department leads need to lead the charge and champion it. And as a team leader, I'm passionate about it because I've got mums in my team. I'm sure there will be new mums in my team, but also dads. And I'm like, how do we make this work so that it's a really great experience and everyone gets an equal opportunity? Because I believe the authenticity of Till and its delivery of doing what it says, the culture from the top down is next level.
Yeah.
I've got high trust, let's put it that way. I have high trust with Till.
It's nice to hear that some of those fears are dissolved. So I think it's a great first step. And
Yeah.
it's, around the momentum and what we do with it.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone feels that way.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And importantly, the return, make sure we're absolutely eliminating the bias around mums returning to work because, I think especially with the talent at Till, we know that the women in this business can absolutely have a family, be a mum and return to work and perform.